Hey everybody, Mr. Regan here. And up to now, we've been looking at this idea diagnostic structures to help us figure out how species are related to one another, like the relationships we see on the evolutionary tree. And in order to answer our focus question for our lesson today, when comparing different species, how can we tell if species are more closely related? We've been exploring many different evolutionary trees and analyzing different species for their shared structures. So, whether it's our canine species or our imaginary dinosaur species, we've been looking at shared structures and a special type of structures unknowingly called these diagnostic structures. Now, we know that our work to place the mystery fossil in a section of the museum requires to put it near organisms that it's more closely related to. But in order to figure that out, we're going to have to decide if they're more or less related to wolves and whales by taking a deeper look at these diagnostic structures. So, in other words, these specialized shared structures. So, to help us explore these diagnostic structures, we're going to be diving into our sim today and practice the process that paleontologists use to place species on the evolutionary tree that we see here. So, we're going to be working with a different part of the tree in our sim for today's mission. We're going to be working with a group called the Cetaceans. And these cetacean groups includes whales and other species like the blue whale and the orcas. So we're going to be studying these species in this group, and we're going to be using our knowledge of diagnostic structures to help us decide if a species uh, that goes on the evolutionary tree based on their relatedness to one another. So we're going to be going into the tree section like we always do. And when we go in, we're going to be finding the section for the cetaceans. Okay, it's at the very bottom, that left window that we see here as we go through the GIF. So we'll click on tree, we'll find the cetaceans, we'll click on that, and it'll kind of zoom to that section so we can begin comparing these different species, thinking about diagnostic structures. So, we're going to be placing these five fossilized species on the evolutionary tree based on who they're more closely related to. Remember, we're going to be putting them in these blank spaces that we see here, and whatever one we put in will be more closely related to whatever one we're connected with. And we're going to be using the eyes here to help us figure out what shared structures they have, and then looking at diagnostic structures as well to help us decide where do they go. So once you place them on the tree, like you see here in our example, they'll click right in, and we'll know that they're more or less related to others based on who they're connected with on the tree. If you get it wrong, it'll let you know, and you can try again. Now, once you've completed the tree, you're going to be asked a series of questions about our cetacean species, and we're going to be looking at who they're more or less related to. To figure that out, we're going to be needing to compare their structures and looking at the study window. So, the study window will help us look at those structures and more specifically, those diagnostic structures, the ones that are very different or more unique to those species than others in our group. So, for example, we can look at some different diagnostic structures between the saber-toothed tiger, the lion, and the bear, and looking at the study information on the diagrams to compare the structures. So, for example, if we're looking at diagnostic structure between the saber-toothed tiger here and the lion here, we can see that tooth, that large tooth, is really the biggest diagnostic structure compared to the bear that doesn't have that overlapping big incisor. So that would be one diagnostic structure. Now we could look at others. We could look at the hips as diagnostic structures, though they're not quite the same. You could compare the legs as being diagnostic, those hind hunched legs. The front hunched legs compared to the bear that has more flat legs. Those could also be considered a diagnostic structure. But those are the things that we're looking for to say, okay, those are what make them unique. Those big teeth are really what make them unique, and maybe those legs as well. So, for our survey, we're looking at, do you understand how to identify the diagnostic and the shared structures in our sim? So that would be the diagnostic structures like the teeth compared to the shared structures like the shoulders and the hips and the legs. And you understand how to analyze those structures to identify the relatedness. So, for example, we would know that our saber-toothed tiger is more related to the lion because of those diagnostic structures. We know they're related to the bear because they have these shared structures, but they're more closely related to our lion. So if you put your X in green, great. If you put it in yellow or red, reach out. Otherwise, good luck.